Good evening and welcome to the latest edition of Daily Record Hotline Live. Scott,
You're back,
I'm back. And by the way,
looking sun-kissed.
a little bit. I actually think I'm starting to look like Rob Beckett's dad. But I've noticed something. See, before I went away, we did one of these and you just did your haircut. What happens at no growing in? Is that it? Is it finished?
Just the damn one.
Is that
Decided every time I come on here with you, I'm just going to get a haircut. Doesn't matter how short.
Thanks coming back.
Doesn't matter how short it is.
You'll be lucky you get 5 haircuts left. Anyway.
We're away in our travels again this week, so
We
I have to get a wee Lisbon haircut before we go to Portugal.
I'll need to get this Boris Johnson Barnett sorted out before I go on Israel. Anyway, less about our hair, more about our football situation in this country and sort of breaking news in the last half hour or so. Scott, I'd got a whisper of this and we're going to kind of mention that Rangers were working towards a contingency plan, which might see them play the quarter-final of the League Cup against Dundee at Ibrox, but in front of 3 stands. And that's just been confirmed in the last half hour by the club. They've put out a statement. The stadium won't be open in full, and they weren't able to put a date on when it might be. It's not really the great news that Rangers fans have been hoping for, because I tell you, the temperature's been dialing up over the last, far from calming down after the result of the weekend. Tempers are fraying, and I doubt this is going to make the Rangers supporter feel much happy.
No, I mean, listen, you can understand the club being desperate to get any sort of good news out there post Old Firm defeat, obviously, and obviously the fans can't wait to get back to Ibrox. We've discussed the whole Hampden thing a lot. It's not been ideal, far from it so far. So they'll be desperate to get back. But as you say, that caveat of the Copeland Road stand not being opened. I mean, this was talked about right at the start of this kind of shambles in terms of they might end up not having to move stadium. They could maybe play with.
I think there's a massive train in the penalty box, so that caused a problem.
That was a problem.
Mind you, they could have done that at Parkhead at the weekend.
A third of the pitch was right centre half. So
more mobile than Potter.
Listen, it's no ideal. But as I said, the positive spin is that they're going back to Ibrox for the next game. The flip side is, as you say, I mean, we've read the statement, there's no real clarity on when the Copeland Road stand will be ready. And that's an issue because we touched on it before we came on air. I mean, it's great that they're back at Ibrox, but it's still not going to be the same. There'll be 3 stands. Copeland Road stand lying empty. I mean, that's the traditional Rangers end. It's the stand that they shoot into second half. Those fans in there, suck the ball in at times, knowing they're desperate for a goal. So it's, as I say,
is that not what they've moved the ultras section as well?
It is this season, behind the goal.
Oh, they just put cardboard cutouts of the Union Bears.
I just remember the Highbury man with the big cardboard crowd.
That's like when Ian Wright was playing centre forward.
Listen, if they don't get results, the noise inside Ibrox will be as if it's cardboard.
Well, I was going to say, it's one thing, having a laugh, but this is another serious sort of a setback in the latest in a series. If it was on its own in isolation, I'm sure the Rangers fans would probably just shrug their shoulders and say these things happen. But these things are happening over and over and over again now.
Yeah, and also if they were only 5 points behind in the league already, when we're just at August. I mean, the first game back in the Premiership isn't at Ibrox. It's obviously at Tannadice to go to Dundee United the next game. But, I mean, without like any panic stations already, the Saturday we come back, Celtic are at home to Hearts who can't buy a win just now. Aberdeen, who are also 5 clear of Rangers, are at home to Motherwell. Again, you would fancy them to get 3 points. I think Rangers will turn up at Tannadice at 12 o'clock that Sunday, 8 points behind in the league against the Dundee United team.
Which, by the way, is flying.
Decent form, and who will be right up for Rangers going back up there after a couple of years. So I think that game brings massive pressure, and that's before you even get back to Ibrox.
I get the feeling by the look in your face that you're probably exasperated talking about the events at Celtic Park at the weekend, Scott. But I mean, give us your verdict on it, because everybody's had their say. It looked to me as if Rangers, after 10 minutes, were terrified. After changing the way they set about the opening, mentioned this before, Kyogo goes up the park, puts the ball in the net, it's chopped off for offside. But at that point, Rangers looked absolutely terrified.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, no, the approach at the start was obviously this kind of high press, getting Celtic's face, no, press them high up the pitch. I mean, they say for the first 10, 15 minutes,
10.
it was working.
10.
It was working reasonably well. Even James Tavernier was coming into midfield, something that Clement has tried the last couple of games at Hampden. I've seen wee glimpses of it. And it was interesting because, as you say, the first 10 minutes, that was working as well. It was giving Rangers an extra man in there, and they were getting a bit of joy. But I totally agree. I just think the offside goal, when Celtic played out of that press, took them 3 passes to get up the pitch, Kuhn was in, Kyogo scores. It totally spooked them, and it looked for the outside as if they were like, "Whoa, right, enough of that. Let's just get back into our usual shape here." And that's a worry, because if that was Clement's instructions
I was
getting into the
just
game,
about to say.
which you need to think it, well, obviously it was.
And he's probably spent a couple of weeks working on it in the training.
I mean, it just doesn't show a great conviction, belief, either for him or the players, mainly the players, obviously. But
Well,
if they decided 10 minutes in, listen, nah.
So you think the players decided that, not the manager? Because that'd be even more chaotic.
I think it looked that way. I don't see why Clement, after an offside goal, the game's still at 0-0, would try and get instructions onto the pitch to say, right, let's change tact here after one breakaway for Celtic. To me, it looked like the players, honestly. It looked like
I actually agree.
It was in their heads, and they thought, nah, we can't take these risks if they're going to play out like that and get in behind us so easy. We can't take that risk, and they went a bit more safe. And that's probably, in hindsight, the worst thing they could have done. But that's tactical, and there's loads of other criticisms you could have of the performance. See, at a very basic level, Jack, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, players not working hard enough. And that,
you saw it all over the park.
Honestly, I mean,
whereas Celtic's work rate is phenomenal. There was Rangers players just sauntering back into position. Matondo's probably the fastest player on the pitch,
but he can't be bothered chasing Alistair Johnson at a throw-in.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how the first goal came. It's a throw-in. It should be a harmless throw-in, that there should be no danger. But Matondo basically can't be bothered chasing the Celtic right back to the byline. He saunters back, gives him too much space, he crosses it, and it's a goal. And I just think there was examples of that
all the way through the game, including from the captain on numerous occasions.
That was a problem in the second half. I was speaking to somebody there, but I mean, there was one instance where Tavernier, the balls, Celtic have got past them down his side again, and he just gives it up. I mean, he gives it up.
That somebody else covers.
And listen, that's no like him. This isn't me trying to slaughter Tavernier, but this is a guy who's took so many beatings in these derby games this season. Obviously, a lot of talk about him maybe going in the summer. I don't think his body language has been right.
I don't think he's half
for a season. I thought his body language was poor on Sunday. I think it was another poor performance for him against Maida. But that body language when he gave up that ball in the second half.
It wasn't just one. There was 2 or 3 like that.
I'm just thinking, Clement's talking about the young players and this new cycle and trying to build this new team. I just think that's your captain, your Barons and your Jeffries and people like that, they should be looking at him as an example.
And if that is the standard that's been set by the captain, then
that's a problem.
Who can blame Diamandi when he doesn't run back and he doesn't fill in and chase? And
that's a problem.
I actually thought, and we'll move on for this, but we have still got a load of angry comments and obviously a lot of happy Celtic fan comments as well. There's one last thing I would like to throw at you, because in my mind, when I looked at the starting 11, I thought, I think he might have got this right. And I've been critical of a number of his starting 11. I think he might have got this right. But I just assumed that Dujon Sterling would be given the job of going man-to-man in McGregor and just trying to snuff him out and just try and get all over him like a rash and just be a pest and a menace and just try and stop him from getting the ball and stop him playing. That job was given to Diomande. Diomande doesn't look to me to have the work ethic to do that, and it showed.
I'm not. I don't know. I think Diomande actually has got a good work ethic.
Yeah, there was times when he was jogging back into position as well.
I know, but I thought at times in the first half, especially at the start, obviously, I thought he was filling gaps. He was trying to cut off the kind of those passing lanes into McGregor.
He was.
He knew what his job was, but I actually agree. I always felt Clement would give that role to Diomande, but and it's no way hindsight. I agree with you. Before the game, I would have got Sterling to do that job. I think that there's a belief that Diomande's probably better further forward in a creative sense, but that shouldn't have been the priority for it. The priority should have been stop McGregor.
But everybody's been saying it for
and
I don't know how long now.
And Sterling is the best at that because he can be a rat in there getting run about people's ankles.
And he's got the energy.
Physical, he's got the power, he's got the energy. I think he'd have been better at that job, you're right. But listen, you're talking about Matondo. I thought a huge disappointment for Rangers was Czerny's performance.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy, Czech international, has come in with a decent reputation.
He was just the fringe, wasn't he?
I thought, getting into the game, I thought Rangers would get a bit of joy through him because I thought he was the type, with his experience, he would stand up to the atmosphere, stand up to that game. He scored at Celtic Park before in a big game. I just thought, again, for the Kyogo goal, he's second best to Greg Taylor. Doesn't bother coming back. He produced nothing.
Greg Taylor seemed to really relish playing up against him, I thought.
He did. He produced nothing going forward.
Listen, we won't drone on about it. Suffice to say, the whole discussion changed a little bit this morning when Graham Souness weighed in. I don't know if you saw.
I did.
What Graham said. Well, Eddie Essen from Ballingery says, now Souness has joined the Clement Looney Tunes, ranting on about stats. Well, Mr. Souness, here's the most important stats. Celtic 3, Rangers 0. Eddie goes on, as for a war in January, Mr. Clement, you might not be there to bear arms. What did you make? Obviously, Clement's after-match comments will cause a bit of a...
I'm surprised, Jacko, that somebody within the club, whether that's his backroom staff, whether it's the PR department, I'm just surprised that nobody's said to Clement, look, it's not really a road you want to go down after an Old Firm defeat, reeling off stats that don't actually mean anything.
And talking about 6-0 against Ross County, that's the worst one.
Just as if any Rangers fan cares about that after a 3-0 scudding off Celtic. And listen, the fans' reaction, going back to Ibrox after the game, some of the behaviour was terrible. I thought the language and all that, you can't condone that. But I do think for Clement and this team, they almost need to see a wee bit of that. I think they need to understand how these fans are feeling, why they're feeling like that. And that's the wee bit I don't know if Clement really gets it yet.
And the other thing that I would say about that is he has taken, now we've talked a lot about, and probably correctly, there was, a plan hatched at the end of last season to clear out the majority, if not all, of the leadership group from the dressing room. But the one that survived was James Tavernier, by hook or by crook. But he seems to me probably to be the meekest and mildest and least likely to start a fight in the dressing room character. Out of your Lundstroms, your Connor Goldsons, Todd Cantwell had plenty to say for himself. Is there any danger here that Clement has actually surrounded himself deliberately with players who don't want to have a voice, who won't have a voice, and who, in a situation like they were confronted by at Celtic Park on Sunday, found it easier to go into their shells and put up a fight?
I'm not sure if it's deliberate. I think he would still want talkers in there, want leaders. I think the name you didn't mention there is probably Jack Butland, and I think he has come across since he came to the club as a decent leader, role model for these younger players. I like the way he speaks. I like the way he spoke after the game on Sunday. Jack Butland, I thought he spoke a lot of sense. It was no surprise he was the guy that was put up. Clement needs leaders in there if they're going to go through this transitional phase that he keeps talking about, where it's going to be, initially said it was October, November, they were going to start looking good. He's now saying after Sunday they'll be a lot better come January. I've even heard them talk about 2-3 years down the line they'll be a lot better because these young players, some of them will be sold on for a profit. The Rangers fans understand
They need to make change.
They understand the fit.
But he needs to understand the need to win matches.
Exactly. And that's why I think he has to find a way against Celtic.
Has to be more pragmatic.
He has to change his approach, because as much as Rangers fans understand the transitional period and understand it's a time of change, they can't keep getting humiliated by Celtic.
Listen, last one on that just now, Scott. Jim McLean from Rothsay, sitting watching the game in Tenerife. Lucky Jim McLean. And I've never heard as much drivel as Clement talked after the game about stats. He keeps coming back, this one. The only stats he did not mention was the 3 goals going on 6. Someone tell him it's goals that win games, not shots on target, etc., etc. Beale talked the same drivel.
Listen, the two shots that he's talking about, or 2 of the shots that he's talking about at the start, were offside. The Dessers and Matondo both looked offside. So the other ones that he's talking about late in the game, Tavernier's volley, the game's over by then. So it's a wee bit misleading. Even the
it's disingenuous is what it is.
Even the
straw clutching.
Even the possession. I've seen somebody on social media today making a good point that a lot of the possession Rangers had was across the back.
Jack Butland, the Tavernier back to Jack Butland.
And Suter and Toffler
for about 10 minutes.
Passing it between each other and not going anywhere. So,
right, look, let's talk. I feel as if I'm feeling your pain here, and I think we should move on. Anyway, there's bigger and brighter things. As you said, we're back in our travels this week. And why are we back in our travels this week?
More Scotland.
Well, we love a good time.
Stay positive.
The start of the Nations League campaign. And one man that's been on the case for us, been down and around with the Scotland camp over the last few days, Fraser Wilson. Fraser, are you there? I think you're joining us. Yep.
Oh,
how you doing?
Not bad.
Forgive
me, there's a toddler having an utter tantrum in the background. So, aye, there he goes.
Is that Gavin Berry?
Just a member of the Tartan Army, mate.
Aye, well, on that, how you? I mean, I know that you're a very passionate Scotland supporter, Fraz. How are you feeling ahead of this latest campaign? It's a little bit nerve-wracking, isn't it? We're in with the big boys.
There's the word, nervous. Always nervous ahead of Scotland games, but it's just crept up that level after the summer. Bottom line, Scotland have to find a way to light the flame again, don't they? The Tartan Army, I would say, are losing faith, and they're usually the last group of fans to lose faith in their team. But no wonder after that paltry attempt in Germany, which you two guys covered so well, which seems an absolute eternity ago, but incredibly it was only 2 months ago. I think against Poland, which is home to Poland, potentially the easiest game, if there's any easy games in that group, they have to get a result more than a good performance, but really we could be doing with both, because...
You say only Poland.
Well, that's what I mean. If there was one team at the Euros that would give us a run for our money and being powder puffed, it was the Poles, and they're single point, but at least they scored 3 goals and their draw came with France, you know.
The question is, Fraz, is the manager, the kind of vibes that you've been picking up, the sense...
What has his mood been like, Fraser? Yeah. Because I think after Germany, we didn't get to speak to him. He didn't do any media duties. He just disappeared for a long time. I believe that I don't think he reacted very well to some of the criticism that he was getting at the end, once the campaign was over. Was there any sign of that? Did he look like a man who's got a bit of the hump, bit of needle?
Well, he obviously did the press conference last Tuesday, when the squad was announced. The first time he's spoken publicly, first time he's met with the media since that disaster in Germany, which, first things first, as me and Scott covered last week, was a bad mistake. That needed to be dealt with within days of coming home from Germany, if not a week, because all it's done is overshadow the build-up to the next campaign, which starts on Thursday night. We needed answers. So he was hit with all these questions about what went wrong in Germany on Thursday last week, instead of looking ahead to the next campaign. To answer your question, to be honest, I thought he was a wee bit more forthcoming than I expected him to be. We know what Steve Clark's like. He's prickly at the best of times, so I thought the shutters would completely come down. He was quite honest, Scott, wasn't he? He answered a few questions. He semi-accepted the game plan was too negative in the final game that we had to win against Hungary. We all knew that anyway. He held his hand up to them being lacking creativity, having too many men behind the ball. Said it's partly the game plan, partly the players on the park to blame. But there was no great hands up. This has been a disaster.
Fraser, sorry, you're not boring me. I just had to walk. Now, let me bring the guys at home into the picture here. We've actually in a new state-of-the-art office, but the lights turn out when there's no movement. So every now and again, we're plunged into darkness, and it means that I need to run about doing a chicken dance. So carry on, Fraser, sorry.
Let's see if it can happen again. That's brilliant.
Fraz, is he going to change to a back four? That to me is a big question. No Kieran Tierney, which the whole kind of back five was built around. No, him and Andy Robertson. I'm looking at that squad. No, he's got a couple of wingers. Obviously, James Forrest still there. Ben Doak's in there. Ryan Gould's come into the squad.
I
think that's the thing that fascinates me about turning up on Thursday night. I think he'll probably. I would like to think he's going to go back to a back four. What do you think?
I think it's the most obvious switch that anyone could make, and I think they will make it. John Carver was speaking yesterday in the build-up to it, and he strongly hinted that that's what's going to happen. He said himself, they've brought in, interestingly, Alan Irvin's been brought in to replace James Morrison as the first team coach to work alongside Carver, and they said he is there. Alan Irvin's been brought in specifically to look at the attacking areas. He referenced going back to a back four, which they have done before, I think, going back 2 Nations League campaigns, or was it the previous one? Sorry. After that disaster in Ireland, and they went, or after the Ukraine game, sorry, and they went back to a back four, and they managed to get through that Nations League campaign. Like you, Scotty, there needs to be a freshness to this, and there's a hint of freshness with the likes of Ben Doak and Ryan Gould brought in, Tommy Conway. Do you know what? I would go with 2 out of the 3 of those. Straight off the bat.
I would play these boys. I mean, I don't know about Ryan Gould's fitness and that, just because of the jet lag. And I think he was in Texas. It was last night he was playing, or the night before. He's just turned up. I mean, hopefully he'll be all right to start the game. But I would start him, Max Johnson, and Ben Doak.
I think you've got to start Max Johnson, haven't you? You've got to start Max Johnson at right back, because Tony Ralston does a great job for what he's there to do, but I think we saw his limitations in Germany. They're highlighted.
But listen, guys, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We've still got a game against Poland. As Fraser's just pointed out, home to Poland is going to be your easiest game of the group. So we need to try and take some points.
So go and attack it then.
But do you want to throw the baby out of the bathwater? Do you want to take too much too soon? Do you want to take an extraordinary risk in the one game that you think I might get 3 points out of them?
I don't think it's a massive risk. Honestly, I think with a midfield 3 of McTominay, Gilmour and John McGinn, that's as good a midfield as is out there. So, and it gives you a bit of protection. McGinn gives you a bit going forward, as does McTominay, obviously.
Callum McGregor.
That's a big blow. But that would be my midfield 3. I would have Max Johnson at right back. I think my 2 centre-backs would probably be Porteous and McKenna. Obviously, McKenna has moved to Spain, playing in La Liga. I think that will improve him. I think he deserves that chance. Obviously, Andy Robertson at left back. It's just up front how you go about it. We know Shea Adams, I think,
going to be there.
No, I think he has to go with Lawrence Shankland up front. And out wide, obviously, I mean, Forrest would have come into contention, but he's pulled out the squad as well. So I think
I'm surprised James Forrest pulled out the squad.
No, after the way he gets
after sitting in Garmisch all summer, he just as well come to the pub with us.
He didn't have much fun. He didn't have as much fun in Garmisch as we did.
As well as you two in the park. The results.
I would go with Gould and Doak at either side of Shankland up top.
It would certainly. I think the Tartan Army would
excite them.
Would excite. I think that would light a flame under them a little bit.
I think so.
I would like to go with Tommy Conway up top. He's got that powerful presence, intelligence.
Instead of Shankland.
Yeah. I've seen Shank. I'm Lawrence Shankland's biggest fan. I've seen him twice.
Well, you don't sound like much of a fan, to be fair.
Well,
He's just
I've
banged
been
out
watched
the
Hearts
park.
3 times in the last week.
As well.
Eh? What are you saying?
I think he might. There's a chance he might go with Lyndon Dykes.
Aye, look, Lyndon Dykes is off to a half decent start at Birmingham.
I know, but Lyndon Dykes playing League One in England. I'm no.
That's not the career path that we'd hoped for Lyndon Dykes, is it? We'd hoped when he went to QPR, he would be on an upward trajectory, not a downward one.
Down to League One. I know Birmingham's a massive club down there, but that would worry me going to League One. But Steve Clarke does really like him. He's had a lot of faith in him. He was obviously really unfortunate to miss out in the Euros. So in Adams' absence, I suppose naturally he'll probably be thinking about Dykes. But I agree with you, Fraser. I'd rather see a Conway or a Shankland up top just for something a bit different.
Talk us through, Fraser, the kind of late changes to the squad. There's been a bit of to and fro, hasn't there?
Aye. Started yesterday. Robbie McCrory, unsurprisingly, pulling out. He's been missing for Kilmarnock for the past 3 weeks. But then the kind of real bombshell, I think, got word last night, Shea Adams was pulling out. James Forrest and Greg Taylor followed on this morning. Obviously, they don't give reasons. They don't stipulate reasons for the pullouts at the time. We'll have to ask Steve Clarke that tomorrow. But in their place, quite interestingly, they've not called up a striker to replace Shea Adams. John McCracken's like for like with Robbie McCrory in goals. And Josh Doig and Connor Barron have been promoted for the under-21 squad. So it's not that adventurous. Connor Barron had been a big push for him to get involved in the squad anyway as soon as it was announced.
As soon as they signed for Rangers.
You said it, not me. I don't think he's going to see any game time in the next 2 games. We're so strong in there. It's just in there to kind of get a feel of the squad, I would say. Josh Doig, likewise. I'm a big fan of Josh Doig. I think he's a future at left back when Andy Robertson eventually calls it a day. But again, likewise, Andy Robertson, barring injury, should play the full 180 minutes plus injury time in those 2 games. So the call-ups really, can't see any of them getting any game time. It doesn't really affect things too much, I would suggest. I just going back to what Scotty said, out of the 3 kind of fresh faces in the squad, Ben Doak's the one I think's got that X factor. I would love to see him put in.
Problem is, he's just not played any football, Fraser.
I know, but you know what? Sometimes you just have to take this risk. I first saw him playing up in age group for the under 17s 2 years ago in European Championships, and it's like nothing I've ever seen in a Scotland strip before. That low centre of gravity, the way the ball sticks to his feet, he knows how to score a goal. He's throwing his gallus nature. I think that's a real talent to be excited by there.
Yeah, let's not try and build the boy up too much. That's what they always say. You two have just labelled him McMessy.
It'll be interesting if he does get a game. It'll be interesting to see where he plays because he's a right winger naturally. Jack was talking about game time, and he's obviously got this loan move to Middlesbrough now. You'd like to think in the Championship he'll go and play a load of games and really light it up down there. But when I've watched him with Scotland under 21s, he'll be the same for us, playing through the middle just with that searing pace. I mean, it just gives Scotland.
Could he not play in and around a number 9?
He could, but
you want him on the last line, don't you? You want him on the last line. Listen, I don't think he'll start on Thursday night. I would have him in the starting line, but that's because I want to see a freshness. I want the punters to get excited. But I think, knowing Steve Clarke as we do, I'd be surprised if he throws him straight in. I think he'll probably be on the bench and look to bring him on late on. Similar to Gold, again, it'll just depend on Gold's kind of fitness, but I think punters want to see him in there. And again, interesting to see where he plays. I mean, I spoke to somebody who knows the other day, just asking him about where he's been playing at Vancouver, because I thought he had dropped a wee bit deeper, but it turns out no, he's been very very attacking. No, this season, MLS for them, he's either played off the main striker or off one of the sides. So that's why I'm saying, ideally, I'd like to see Shankland up there with Gold and Doak at either side. But do I think that's what Steve Clark will go with? Probably not.
Well, guys, we'll come back to that obviously over the course of the next few days as you and I get our bags packed to go to the next leg of the Scotty McDermott, Keith Jackson
Roadshow
bromance to Lisbon. Fraser, thanks for joining us, mate.
No problem. All the best. Safe journey, chaps. We'll see
Cheers,
Hamden
Raz.
first, right enough.
So, while we've been away talking about other matters, we're just keeping getting on bombarded with comments which go back to Sunday, your favourite subjects.
I can imagine.
And here's one here from Dr. Robert S. Pender. Is this a Homer Simpson? Is that a Mo at the bar?
I'm glad it's you reading it. No,
Have I just been done? Do the Rangers and Man United managers sleep in the same bed? Both teams had the same weaknesses, same managerial excuses, same stats quoted. I'm guessing it's a reference to Eric Ten Hag after
just a lot less money spent.
getting gubbed by mighty Liverpool at the weekend. Dr. Robert S. Spender continues, they must realise the supporters are not fooled. Yes, Rangers are in a rebuild, but let's have honesty. That's not a bad point, is it? Isn't that winding people up a little bit more? Celtic fans are even laughing at it.
Yeah, I think Rangers fans would rather Clement came out after the game on Sunday and just said, look, we weren't good enough. And I take the responsibility. We shouldn't be coming here and getting beat so comprehensively.
Because he looks delusional.
And
that's the worry, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're a Rangers supporter, you're looking at this guy going, does this guy actually get this?
That's the problem. And you listen, you're right. I don't doubt Philippe Clement is a really good manager. I don't doubt he's got passion, desire, determination. I mean, the guy's won titles, even stuff he achieved as a player. I think he's a real kind of gritty character. But it's just that bit we're talking about, just understanding the psyche of these fans in this moment, after a 3-0 defeat. I said to, I was on the Records Rangers podcast this morning, I was saying it was quite similar when Mark Warburton came in as manager. I think gradually Mark Warburton, I actually think by the end he did get it, but at the start he didn't come in with this ideology how we're going to play football and we're never going to change and blah blah blah.
Plan A,
when they lost
Plan B's do Plan A better.
Yeah, when they lost 5-1 at Celtic Park in his first Old Firm game, the Joey Barton game, Senderos sent off, Dembele hat-trick. I mean, it was absolute disaster for Rangers at the time. I remember being at the training ground for the press conference a few days later, and he actually said he couldn't believe the reaction to it. He actually said, he was quoted as saying, I mean, come on, he said, it's not as if somebody's died. I actually remember saying to him, I says, you're right, but see these punters getting out of their work the next day and getting hounded with a Celtic, it feels like somebody's died to them. That's how serious these people take the football here. That's how serious this derby is. And I just think Clement...
Well, you did mention, Scott, you did mention that there were scenes outside Ibrox, ugly scenes actually, outside Ibrox, following that, when the team's return. I think that the players were going back there to pick up their cars. You seem to be saying, while not condoning it, that it might be no bad thing for the players to see the depth of the hurt.
I just think at times players need to know how much pain fans are feeling, because I think you're so... Listen, we all know the way...
I think it might spook them.
We all know the way football is. I mean, players are so detached now from fans. They're even detached from media. You know that. We don't get the time with players and managers that we used to get. So there is that detachment there, and it's certainly the case.
Yeah, they live in a bubble now, don't they?
It's certainly the case with fans. As I say, I'm not condoning that kind of abusive behaviour, but I honestly don't think it will do them any harm to realise the strength of feeling there.
Well, on that one, Andrew Lamb from Fraser, whilst we all hated losing so badly to our old rivals on Sunday, shouting abuse and swearing at both players and manager is not the answer.
No.
Andrew goes on, real fans get behind the club and strive to make it better. I don't know what the fans are going to do to make it better unless they've got a good centre half and a guy that can score goals at the other. There's not much the fans can do, but I actually, I think it will have illustrated to a few of them that maybe haven't quite realise what they're involved in.
Yeah, and
But I can't help but say I think it's actually quite embarrassing to see scenes like that.
It is 100%. But just in terms of the team, I think everybody has to accept at the moment that Celtic are in a far better place than Rangers, a far better team. They've got more quality, they've got more strength and depth, more confidence, belief, whatever you want to say. But all of that doesn't mean you can't compete in a one-off game against them. Many old firm games, if you've been to over the years, or games in general, where one team's been clearly better than the other team,
But the other one found a way.
the other one finds a way to go and win. Rangers need to be competitive. I think fans, Rangers fans, or even when it's flip Celtic, I think fans can accept
After
losing the league, right? Because that's the way it's always been through history. Each club will get a wee spell where they win 2 or 3 leagues and then it'll flip back the way. So fans can accept losing the league, but they need to be competitive in that derby. They can't go through season. I mean, that's 5. I think the stat for the weekend was that Celtic won the last 5 at Celtic Park. The last time that was done was like 1980 or something.
That's 44 years ago.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That can't be an acceptance.
Well, talking of that, we've got Gordon Ashley from Ayr who says Celtic and Aberdeen should do the right thing and hand each other 3,000 tickets each for the games between the top 2 in the league this season. Gordon continues. The Glasgow derby is over as a contest, and this is now re-emerging. This is now re-emerging as the country's top fixture. It's got a point as things stand.
It has.
Top of the table clash.
He's trying to be funny, but he has got a point because these games, these old firm derbies, have become non-competitive. I think over the last couple of years, and that's a real indictment on Philippe Clement, the Rangers managers before him, and the players. I mean, I grew up in everything. When I was growing up, everything you heard about old firm derbies where, and my dad just said to me all the time, you can never predict the outcome.
Whereas everybody knew what the outcome was going to be.
Everybody knows now. Everybody knows. Everybody knows James Tavernier's going to get roasted by Maida. Everybody knows Celtic, especially at Celtic Park, are going to win.
And everybody knows if Callum McGregor gets in the ball, he's going to
dominate the game. It's old firm games can't be that predictable, and that's why Clement has to change his approach getting into these games if he's still got this.
How he's going to do it. James Brown from Glasgow. This is Barry Ferguson is getting me. I think Barry Ferguson's emailing in his own emails here under the guise of he's been mentioned twice for the Rangers job over the last couple of days. And by the way, Rangers will be difficult to deal with. Don't think you'll be getting them in the cheap. Anyway, James Brown, this is not so much complimentary, maybe this one wasn't, from Barry. James Brown from Glasgow. Barry Ferguson describes 60,000 Celtic fans celebrating a wee huddle dance. How would he describe the Rangers manager and players' celebration dance a couple of weeks ago? James goes on to say, how would Ferguson describe the Rangers' lap of honour after salvaging a 3-3 draw at Ibrox against Celtic last season? How pathetic is Barry Ferguson? He's not pathetic at all. He's a very nice man and an excellent columnist. So thanks very much, James, and we'll move on. Actually, do you know what?
He did look it, but that was a moment, though, in the game, and the camera panned to Barry's face.
He's raging
because you did think. I wrote about it a couple of weeks before. I think it was the St Johnstone game when the Rangers players did their kind of celebration, the kind of ill-advised celebration behind the goal after beating St Johnstone 2-0. And
what was that even about? Was it?
Oh, I don't know. Listen, they wanted to thank the fans that stuck by them. It wasn't a great crowd, obviously, but the kind of bouncing up and down the celebration was.
All you needed was Andy Halliday and a
very
speaker, loudspeaker.
Very ill-advised. But that day at Hampden, I looked down at the bit in front of the kind of VIP area where ironically where the trophies get handed at Hampden. There's kind of one row of seats, and I just looked down and there was 2 guys sitting there. And it was Barry Ferguson and John Brown with the club ties and that one. And I did think, what must be going through their heads watching this? Just that. Listen, the St Johnstone performance wasn't the worst, but just in general, the low crowd, the kind of no great performance, the whole negative vibe around the place. What Clement would give for, you're talking about leaders not in the dressing room, what Clement would give for one or two of them in his dressing room over the next few months.
Not if he doesn't like a dissenting voice, because I don't think Barry would be slow in coming forward.
I wouldn't.
We talked the other night about some of the other stories that are going on this season, surprise stories. You know, the fact that Kilmarnock are struggling at the bottom of the league, that Hearts have got off to a start that nobody would really have seen coming, I don't think, especially after the opening day performance. Aberdeen have obviously been a major story. But just to finish off tonight, we'll get one here from, let's see, Stephen Johnston in, how do you pronounce that? Ardenity? Yes, I think so. The Edinburgh Derby will decide if the Hearts board say nay bother or nay mayor to Stephen Naismith. It goes on. In my mind, it will be the latter, and he will become the first manager out the door, and they'll bring back Craig Levine from the cold. Not again.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Craig Levine's getting enough of his plate at St Johnstone.
Well, exactly. But in terms of the story that's developing at Hearts, are you of the view that, you know, European football is always going to have an impact? We had a discussion with me and Swanee last night about it, and it's almost as if Stephen Naismith spoiled himself. He's got so many options now, and he can't seem to work out, you know, what the framework of his first team should look like.
I agree with that. I said it last week. I looked at the Hearts squad. I think he's working with 27 players, which is too much for Hearts, I think. And I get it. I get why he wanted to really build the squad and have strength and depth, not to fight on all fronts. Because after the season they had last year, you can't blame him for wanting to go and kick on, feeling there's been real progress there and going to try and take it a step further. But I agree with you, I think he's almost got too many options. I mean, he's made so many changes in every game. I was at the European game last week when they get beat off Pilsen. He made another 5 changes that night. There's no rhythm,
no continuity.
There's no continuity, no fluidity about them. I said the other night, I think the best thing Stephen Naismith can do, and who am I to tell him what to do, but the best thing he can do for me is get his best 11 in the park
and stick with it for
3 or 4 games. I think that will serve them well, because that squad is far too good to be struggling the way they're struggling just now. And the one thing I'd say for him is he had a bad start last season when he first got the job, and people wanted him out, and look how that ended up. So I think he deserves a wee bit more time.
Yeah, I know, but you get the feeling that Hearts fans are very short and patient.
Aye, 100%. I'm not happy.
Well, we'll keep our eye on that one. We'll keep our eye on everything. We'll keep our eye on Scotland this week, and then we'll keep our eye on. I've just found a beautiful Indian restaurant in Lisbon that I think the two of us should investigate on Friday night. Man.
You know I don't like big fancy meals.
Yeah. Well, it's just a wee table for two, wee rows in the middle and all that.
Sounds good.
Right, great. Scott, thanks for coming in. Thanks, Fraser, for joining us earlier. And thank you to all you guys for sending in your comments. Please continue to do so. You can send us your thoughts and opinions through all our social media channels, YouTube, etc., etc. And we'll be back to do it all again tomorrow.